Ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, and none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Shetties?
No. I don't even speak to the... I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
I was conscious of the fact that he had a reputation for being an outstanding bookmaker.
You ever hear him referred to as the Prime Minister of the Underworld?
That term I did not.
Also known as Duck Corella. I refuse to answer on the grounds of an offensive. You got any business? I refuse to answer on the grounds of attempted criminal. You have any profession? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made. You have any occupation? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made. Are you a known racketeer?
Good evening. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Time for our interrogation show. We watch police interrogation videos and kind of give a breakdown on the technical aspects that are going on there. I'm joined tonight by Lamar. Glad you could make it, Lamar. We may have Jason in here just a little bit later. He had some 3D response business that he's doing today, training a whole bunch of officers and first responders on how to use that free kick butt system that we like. We'll even take a look at it, whether he shows up here tonight or not. But Lamar, how are you on this fine Wednesday evening?
I am good, sir. Excited to see what you have dialed up for us, and Jason is certainly doing God's work.
100%. Unless you have some chit chat going back and forth, I say we go ahead and get into our first case. This first case, or our only case, we're only going to do one tonight. This is it's going to start out as a missing person, and they're going to be talking to this female's young lady, I should say, her estranged husband about the disappearance. And this one's going to be a little bit different than we see a lot of those we've seen before. We've seen those before, and you and I have discussed it, Lamar, where the investigators were able to come in with quite a bit of background information. This one's going to be kind of cold. It's a bit of a cold interrogation. They don't have a lot of information to go on, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get started. But actually, with that, let's just get started on it.
I dig it.
This is 22-year-old Gabe Clevenger, and she's missing at the time.
Hi, this is Lisa. I'm calling. I live at 122nd Street, and I would like to make a police report.
Okay, what's going on?
I have a young lady who's living here with me. She's been here for about, I'm going to say about a month and a half. Her husband got very violent with her, and she has a bunch of police reports there in Mansfield that she's filed. She also filed for an annulment. She's waiting for paperwork to come here to this address. Anyway, Alex ended up, her soon-to-be ex-husband ended up finding out where we lived at, and he come over all psycho and banged on the door. She ended up leaving with him, and she texted my son, who is out of state, and said, hey, I'm with Alex. She became psycho, and she was like, why didn't you call the police? But anyway, nobody can find her. She didn't show up for work. She didn't call off. That's so out of her character. Been hoping I can file a report.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, you're fine.
Officer Turner.
Okay.
What's your name?
Alec.
Alec.
Yep.
This is Deputy Needy. So, here, I brought this for you.
Okay, thank you.
So, we want to find her. Okay? So, I need your help, and I need to know what you know, okay? So, just kind of give me like start from the beginning, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then your relationship with your wife.
Well, I'm more of like, I don't know, like describe like what I do or anything?
Yeah, tell me what you do, tell me where you're from, I mean, give me the whole spiel.
Usually, I'm always at work, basically 24/7.
Okay.
Weekends, usually I'm out I do anything, it'll be with my friends, or I'll go out with like my mom or dad or something. I'll drink usually. From right here in Mansfield, where I've basically been most of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, and what else? I mean, I love sports.
Well, where'd you go to high school?
At Crestview.
Okay. And what year did you graduate there?
2017.
Okay. All right. So, how did you meet your wife?
I started working at Walmart.
Okay.
In 2016.
Okay.
So just real quick, Joe, if I can jump
gotcha.
in, because this
And then when did
is
you guys get married?
a cold interview. So for everybody listening, it's important to note that this baselining phase is really, really important. So not only are they asking him a bunch of questions that they can go back and verify themselves, but you get to observe the subject in a conversation where there's no real threat at all. How do they position themselves? What's their speech pattern? How do they react? As you'll probably see later as this thing progresses, is their physiology already betraying them? Are they showing signs of deception? Typically, when you're asking someone harmless questions, they're pretty chill about it. But when the stress gets applied, it starts to shift pretty quick.
Yeah, right. And I think we talk about this almost every week. This initial part of an interrogation is super important that you as an interrogator, you're picking up on the clues. You're teaching yourself how this guy talks, essentially, or we'll call it giving it a baseline. But these are right. These are non-threatening questions. Like, hey, where'd you go to high school and all this other stuff? It's chit-chat and small talk, really. But these investigators should be doing a lot of observing at this point to do exactly what Lamar's talking about, to get a kind of a baseline. When the questions get more difficult, how's that reaction going to be? I think I was just about to stop it and get our initial impressions, and I've gotten yours. I think that you're already seeing some nervousness with him. He's not sure how to answer. He was asked, "Tell me about your wife a little bit, your relationship with your wife, or how you." It gets to more specifically, how did you meet? But the initial question was, "Tell me about you and your wife." And he goes on to, "Well, I work. I go out with my parents," and he takes a lot of the safe answers. But he knows, and they know at this point in the game, that he was the last one seen with her prior to her going missing. She's missing at this point. They don't know where she's at. So this is part of that investigation. So I think you've got some of that emotional and physiological response happening right at the beginning of this. Wouldn't you say, Lamar?
Yeah, I agree. When you start tripping up over your words in response to pretty simple questions, that's a pretty good indicator. It would be an indicator to me that I'm in for a long conversation trying to navigate why the hell you're not disclosing some pretty simple information.
The technique that I use is teaching you how to talk. We sit down and I start out with the soft questions like this, essentially trying to establish a baseline, which would be almost in every interrogation that I ever did, that I thought I knew what I was doing. But when I get these answers, I ask a question and I get a bunch of things that are around it, but it's not even near the question at all. Then I'm going to start getting more simple with it. But I'm going to try to teach you how to talk, teach you to get comfortable, because we're not going to get anywhere if I ask about your relationship with your wife and you tell me how you like to go out every now and then and drink with your parents. We're just never going to get anywhere. But I've heard it called before, and I call it we're going to teach them how to talk in the beginning. Or it could be teach you how to listen. That may be a more appropriate way to phrase that. All right, let's get back and see how this thing lines out.
We got married in August of last year.
Okay, all right. No kids, anything like that?
Yeah, we tried, but we've had no luck.
Okay, all right. Okay, so our main goal here is she's missing. You don't know where she is.
Yeah.
So you understand you're here voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I am going to read you your Miranda warning. It's just something that we have to do. And I'm going to this will be what I'm reading you here at the top.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sure you've seen it on TV.
Right,
It just
yeah.
says that I understand that I have the right to remain silent. Anything that I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. You understand that the right to be the presence of an attorney when being questioned, and you understand if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you by a court. You understand that anytime during questioning, you can stop and remain silent and ask for an attorney to represent you before any further statements. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now that you understand that, do you wish to talk to us in general?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So tell me where you guys were living.
We were living in Trailer Park
Okay,
out in, it's a Greenwich address,
okay.
but it's not really Greenwich. It's like 5 minutes from the Crestview schools.
Clayburg Road Trailer Park?
Yeah, Clayburg Road,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, we were living there we started in one trailer and then moved into another trailer that was bigger for us.
Okay. And then how long did you stay there?
I was there at the newer trailer we got till about beginning of January,
Okay.
because she was telling me that, she wasn't happy because a lot of stuff had to do with me, because I would have anger issues
Okay.
from childhood and
Sure.
parents divorce and stressed. I would if my anger, I would punch the wall or maybe throw something.
Okay.
That would be my type, getting out my anger.
Right.
Yeah, but beginning of January, I moved out with my mom
Okay.
over on Taylortown Road,
Okay.
and I've been living there ever since.
Okay. And then where was she living? You said you moved out, so did she stay in the trailer?
She was staying in the trailer for a while there that I know of, and then she was trying to get a place out here in Shelby,
Okay.
apartment, and I know she was staying with somebody else. It was a friend at first that turned into, something else.
Okay. Now whose friend? Like your friend or her friend?
It was her friend, yeah.
Okay. And then how'd you hear about that, or how'd you learn about that?
She was the one that told me, actually, all about that.
Okay. I mean, what did she say? She was just talking to a guy, or?
Well, at first she kind of didn't want to say anything, but I was just kind of talking to her and wanting her to tell me, the truth, just tell me. And she said she was talking at first that I know of, and then basically that's all I really know. They were talking. They met, it was sometime last year, because her boss, that's her boss's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you ever talked to him or met him, or?
I've never met him or talked to him or anything.
You never talked to him on the phone or text him?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So if he walked in the police department right now, you wouldn't know who he was?
I could probably tell who he was, because, I've seen, his Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you looked him up on Facebook. And you have a general idea what he
Right,
looked like.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you found out that she was, talking to him, what was the status to your relationship at the time?
I was single, I guess, even though I was still, legally married.
Okay. Okay. But, did you guys have, an understanding, we're going to see other people, or we're separated?
It was hard for me at first.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got really depressed with everything just because I wasn't ready, and she was basically the first person I fell in love with.
Sure.
So it was just kind of hard for me to get used to it, but as of right now, I know my dad was trying to hook me up with some girl.
Okay.
Yeah, so
this was last month that all this happened?
last month coming into beginning of this month.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so give me an approximate date when you think she moved over here.
I want to say like by around the end of January.
Okay, all
I
right.
can think of it. Yeah, because what happened was she was staying there, but she wasn't there the one night, and someone broke into the trailer.
The trailer where? Your original trailer that you guys were living at?
Second trailer we got.
Okay.
Someone, I guess, ended up breaking in and didn't take anything, but they did break a lot of stuff.
Huh.
And I knew they decided they wanted to take a pee on the floors, I guess, from what I was told. And she had the Richland cops come there, tell her that she probably shouldn't be staying there. You know, probably stay with a friend or her sister or something.
So she told you, like she called you and tell you that, hey, the trailer was broken into, or?
I found out about it because our landlord called me and said the door was open. And so he was wondering how to get a hold of her. I just told him to call her work boss. And I messaged her and asked her what was going on and told me all that.
Okay, all right. So from that incident, the burglary, whatever that was, up until now, have you guys been amicable? Have you been getting along? I mean, what's going on between you and her?
We were kind of civil, but then we kind of would go back into a path of just, we were messaging each other, and, it would just be like really not, great things we would tell each other. We really didn't have a greatest relationship, but, I tried to be civil again just because I wanted to calm everything down.
Sure.
She wanted the divorce and I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
So I kind of just finally was getting into that feeling to do that.
All right. So she had told you she wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that what started kind of the waxing and waning of the arguments, or?
Yeah.
That's what started it. Okay. And now, are you talking to her on the phone about all this stuff? Do you guys text or Facebook message, or how do you guys talk?
It would usually just be Facebook message.
Okay.
But most of the time she had me blocked on Facebook, so I'd have to talk to her sister to tell her, whatever.
Okay, all right. So when's the last time you saw her?
This morning, actually.
Okay, tell me about that. How did you see her this morning? Why did you see her this morning?
Well, because I was messaging her on Facebook because I wanted to go to the courthouse so we can figure out anything with a divorce, how much it's going to cost, all that stuff. And she didn't really want to at first, but I was trying to talk her into it just so we can get it all done and over with.
Okay.
And then when I did get her, we went to the car. I started going for a little bit, but she just wanted to try to start arguing. I really wasn't in the mood to argue just because I was tired. And, I told her, I was like, I'm not really in the mood to argue right now. I just want to go.
Let's get us a pause in here. I want to welcome Jason with 3D Response. Our co-host has joined us this evening. Welcome, Jason. How are things in the Minnesota part of town?
Politically, it sucks, but I still like the state.
I don't have anything smart to say. I agree with everything that you just said. Politically, it does suck, but it is a beautiful state. Have you had a chance to watch much of the video here tonight?
I didn't see the beginning. I'm just kind of jumped in maybe 3-4 minutes ago.
Well, I don't think you've missed much. Lamar and I discussed the very beginning of this, which hasn't been a lot. You haven't missed much. They're establishing a baseline. I wanted to, and Jason, you may not have seen enough to make a comment on this, but I think Lamar has. What do you think about the little snicker or giggle he leads with before he says certain things? Any tell there you see, Lamar?
Yeah, he's nervous. That's the nervous laugh. They're getting a little bit close to the sun, and that it's an unintentional chuckle. And if everyone notices when he first started talking, it wasn't present. Now they're starting to narrow down, and these tics are starting to present.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty bold tale as well. That this is a stressful subject for this person that's speaking. It's not in a dismissive manner, and I would venture to guess that he doesn't even realize that he's doing it. He's not doing the laugh as to try to dismiss the question or dismiss the answer. It's some sort of a coping mechanism that a lot of people will have. That they'll have a little chuckle or a little laugh when they get stressed prior to talking about something that's uncomfortable. We want to welcome Dr. Douglas Ahern Esquire to the stage, another one of our co-hosts that helps us out with this. We're going to run some video and give these two latecomers a chance to catch up to maybe where we're at. But in case you haven't seen up to this point, Dr. Doug, we're still in the early initial stages. They just now started breaking the ice into his missing wife, that he was the last one to see her. He's talking about a car ride that he'd seen her this very day in the AM, and they were going to the courthouse to determine how much a divorce was going to cost, according to his story. But he's just getting into the things in that occurred and maybe what was said in the car ride to the courthouse. That's where we're at.
Joe, real quick, is this a Miranda statement or is this a free to leave statement?
Free to leave, but Miranda.
Okay.
It's a missing person. He knew when he walked in that he was the last person to see them. There was a 911 call that indicated that, and he is now getting into the details of the last time that he saw his estranged wife.
Gotcha. The one thing that kind of nice, not having been in here before, but just looking at what I noticed in the last couple minutes, he's very guarded in his body language. He's not really pulling his arms away from his body at all. He's very almost hugging himself. Just another, which he's uncomfortable.
He's definitely in defense mode. He is. This is not a comfortable place for him to be. And we were talking about the tics. He has a tendency on maybe more difficult questions or questions that bring some level of stress to him to give a kind of a chuckle or a laugh prior to him, or almost dismissive. Is which any other circumstances, it's almost if someone did this to you, it would be like they're dismissing whatever you just said or what their answer to whatever you just asked. But I don't think he's doing it that way. I think it's a nervous tic that's coming through pretty strong. But yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely in the guarded stance.
Get this done and go to work. Well, she didn't want. She wanted to continue arguing, and then she told me she wanted to get out of the car. So I just was like, okay. So she got out of the car. It wasn't too far from her house, her boyfriend's house, or whatever. And I decided to go home.
Okay. So then you went back to Tatertown.
Yeah, I went home and got ready for work. Went to work.
So where you were going to Mansfield on 39? Or how were you planning to go to the courthouse?
Yeah, I think it was 39. Yeah.
Is it the main highway, or are you going back roads?
It was the main highway. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So about how far away did you get before, she said she wanted to get out?
It was like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
Before.
I mean,
anything.
Do you know the area well? Like where exactly this happened? Like where she got out?
From that area, I really don't know too well. Because I'm not really from Shelby.
Okay, boys, why do we care what route he took and maybe what time it would be there? Why is that significant in a missing person investigation or even a homicide investigation?
I'll go.
Jason?
Right now, it's a missing person. They're trying to figure out where she was last seen, and it's important to, that needs to really be narrowed down on when did she get out of your car, according to your story. What time did she get out of your car? to help them put the pieces of the puzzle together to actually start looking for a missing person.
Yep.
And it also is setting it's also setting a baseline to later on potentially come back and said, you said this, that wasn't true.
Well,
Well,
I
100%.
agree. I was just going to say really quickly.
I think Dirty D's, and I'm gonna give it to Dirty D's. He hit what I was looking for, what I thought we talk about first. Cameras en route. We'll be able to, this modern day in time, you would be able to go back to businesses and maybe ring doorbell cameras and get a glimpse of his car going through there at that time. At least that would be some portion to be able to corroborate his story. And I'm sorry, Lamar, go ahead, but I want to give Dirty D's a shout out on that.
Yeah, all good. I was just going to say it's so this is the POL, or pattern of life and timeline framing. So let him get it out, tell him the route, the times, all that kind of stuff, and then you can go back and check that stuff. And I'd be willing to bet that later on he starts to fudge on some of this stuff.
Don't say that, Lamar. That is just the pessimist coming out in you. You need to learn to find the good in men. That's all I'm going to say. Dr. Doug, do you want to chime in on anything yet, or are you still going to sit in the observer box?
Well, no, I because my first thought was cameras, but it's I think it's a little bit of all of the above, because now you're going to have the comparative value of his timeline, in this day and age, depending on his vehicle, they can triangulate his cell phone movements, to be able to find all of it. But I think Jason had mentioned early first. It's still a missing persons issue right now. So the first and foremost, they're talking to that guy to try to find out, to be able to pinpoint her, to see if you can find her. And then hopefully she's still obviously healthy.
No, 100%. And I wasn't discounting what Jason is 100% correct on what he's saying, but it's real important that when you're an interrogator, you're sitting across trying to get information for someone, that you're an active participant and an active listener. We have a tendency as humans to we listen to what we're saying, and then we're thinking about what we're going to say while someone else is speaking. But to be a good interrogator, you've kind of got to do both. And I think that he laced those questions in there very well. And more than likely, he put this guy to either tell us a lie for a story or give up some of the truth is what I think. But I thought that was a good tactic by the interrogator.
So I don't know too much.
Okay. You know where? So if you're going in 39 to Mansfield, right?
Yeah.
And then you make a right, you go Lexington Spring Mill to go like towards Meyer and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Was it before that?
It was, way before that.
Way before that. Okay.
Yeah.
So was it past Mill Irons?
We weren't past there. It was. I just picked her up from her house where she was at, and we started going. And it wasn't really that long before she told me that.
Okay. And where'd you pick her up at?
Over on 2nd Street.
Okay. And that's where she's like staying. Who lives there?
I know that. I don't really know. I think it might be CJ's mom and stepdad.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And I think it might be CJ, but I know he wasn't in Ohio. He's not in Ohio right now. I think that's who's living there.
Okay. But I mean, how'd you find out where they lived?
I made the stupid post on Facebook about her. It was just really just me just downplaying her. I was just being dumb.
Yeah.
Anger.
Okay, real quick. If you're the investigator sitting at this table today, you're looking for a missing person. How long would you have to sit in this interview, Jason or Lamar, any of you guys? We can go around the table. How long would you have to sit in this interview to really believe that you're not looking at a missing person any longer? Jason?
He's digging a hole on motive for himself here. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that thought, where my brain's going to start looking towards, all right, there's more to this. Like I said, he's got all the motive in the world, and he's spilling it out.
I agree. I would say the first 15, 20 mics, he started talking about the troubles in the relationships, all that kind of stuff. I'd start shifting my focus pretty early.
Dr. Doug, would there be a point that your antenna would be up?
Well, the fact that they were driving to go get like a divorce,
On the way to the courthouse to get a
on the
divorce.
way to the courthouse, and she gets so pissed off at him that she demands that he stop the car and let her out, and then now he's looks like he's got itchy psoriasis or something. He's got total ants in his pants. Yeah, that's got red flags.
Well, hang on. Let me check my notes. Yeah, he's the only one on the suspicious person list at this point. The estranged husband who's stalking his ex on Facebook, who's living with another person, and he picks her up to go to the courthouse, and all of a sudden, she's not heard of again. I would say I've only got one suspect at this point, but I would imagine.
Didn't he mention something about? He said something about her boyfriend. He says, yeah, he was going to, close to her boyfriend or whatever. So yeah, it just keeps on going.
No, this is definitely these are exactly the people will get looked at pretty hard and close when it comes to missing persons and homicide investigations. And I would not want to be the ex that was on my way to the courthouse to figure out how much a divorce was going to be when my ex come up missing. I'd be sweating bullets. Let's get back to it. I'm sorry, Lamar. Did everybody chime in on that? Everybody's good to move on.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Anger, and someone messaged me and told me the address of his name. I didn't know who it was that told me.
Wow. So you were just asking for information about her, or him, or both?
Post was really just about her.
What would you say? Just trash?
Pretty much, yeah. I was just being stupid. It went in my head. I get angry.
Okay.
And if I want to say something, it gets in my head, and I'll just come out with it.
Okay. And when was that post today, or?
That was posted a week or two ago.
Okay. So you knew, last week or whatever that he lived over here, she was staying with him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you find that out, then what do?
I didn't do anything after that. After I found out, I just kind of just blew on by it to try not to worry about it. I think I had to go to work then, right after, so.
Okay. All right. So when you picked her up today, right, well, about what time was that?
I'm going to say 10:30, maybe 11.
Okay. And how did, why didn't you just go to the courthouse by yourself? Why didn't she just go by herself? Why did you guys have to go together?
She doesn't have a car. I'm the only one with the car. When we were together, we had just the one car.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up actually getting into an accident over here by Taco Bell and everything.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I rear-ended somebody and just got a rental car.
Oh, wow. Okay. When did that happen?
I think it was a week ago.
Oh, okay. What were you doing over here?
I went to go get gas. And came out there and hit the back of somebody.
Okay. So when you were talking to her, when did the conversation start? Was it this morning about this whole courthouse thing, or when did you guys
it was this morning.
About the time?
I woke up about 10 o'clock. Started Messenger a little bit after.
Okay, so you started Messenger this morning about 10.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. Just tell me how the conversation.
Before that gets too deep, I want to go to Rude's comment here. The constant grin on his face makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to go back again, and you guys give me your opinion around the table. I think that, again, is a nervous tick that he's not. I don't know if that's something intentional that he's doing. I think that inside of his head, pipes are starting to burst. But what do you think, Lamar? The little smirk on his face when he's answering questions.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have the benefit of watching the video now, but you can pay attention to his body language, his physiology. It's escalating discomfort. First, it started with the crossed arms, and then he shifted to the unintentional chuckle. Now he's scratching himself. Now he has a shit-eating grin on his face. Apologize for the language there, Joe. But yeah, you can just basically watch him falling apart.
Well, now, the itching's most likely psoriasis, so we wouldn't be able to hold that against him. He's a victim of skin itching. I'm sure of it. But I did want to bring that up. We talked about the little chuckle that he started out with, but it seems to have progressed now to, you're right, he's got a little smirk on his face. But I don't know that he's even aware that he's doing that. Jason, you want to chime in on this little tidbit before we move on?
I agree with Lamar. He's nervous as hell.
Kind of get tired of everybody agreeing with Lamar so much, but maybe Dr. Doug will disagree. Dr. Doug?
Yeah, I hate to be the one to jump in the middle of a waiting pool, but look, you don't know the guy. You don't know what his normal mannerisms are. I mean, we run across people that are just, quirky dudes, every single day. So we don't know if that is his normal behavior. And I think it's probably reasonable. And I'm thinking in the psychology background as opposed necessarily as a criminal defense attorney. It's perfectly reasonable for a person in his situation to be really, really nervous. It really is. You're being questioned. This lady is missing. They're already telling you, that like you're the last person to see her, yada, yada, yada. I will tell you, however, on that note, so I'm not making excuses for his behavior. That obviously that's very detectable. It's not an indicator. It's just something that's kind of check marking the boxes. But he did indicate, well, why are you the one to go pick her up? Well,
I think we might have lost Dr. Doug there for a minute.
Sorry, Joe. I do have one little observation that I'm seeing here. As the detectives go down these line of questionings, and this guy is in there, he knows what happened or he doesn't know what happened, but at some point, why isn't he asking them, do you think I did something here? I think a innocent person would ask, am I a suspect? It wouldn't, to me, the over cooperation is a little bit telling to me that an innocent person would say, I did nothing to her. Please help me find her. We need to find her. That's kind of a little flag for me.
I agree, but also understand what Dr. Doug is speaking of. And I agree with both of you, but neither one of those things if I don't have anything else, I've got nothing. It's just the guy smirked when he talked, or he didn't seem concerned as I think he should have been. All these things that we'll kind of attribute to other people. But I think that's where Dr. Doug was trying to go before he got his audio cut off. But these are indicators that as an interrogator, you need to be on point from the very beginning, because you need to be able to develop these and figure out how they're displayed. I think that what we're seeing here, anytime this guy's stressed, if he's a stalker at Walmart and he's behind on his quota or whatever, I think you would start to see some of the demeanors and the way he would relate to other people around him when he's under stress. But I'd also agree that it's completely reasonable for you to be stressed sitting in that seat. You back with us?
I was just going to add one last thing to that, Joe. I agree with what Dr. Doug was saying. I think my point is the critical part of that baseline phase is you're already in the booth, as we would say. It's a very nervous situation, but if you pay attention to his demeanor at the very beginning, it is now significantly changed. So if that little bit of stress didn't induce these physiological responses, but now as they get closer to the X, they're starting to present, it's a pretty good indicator.
I think it's more like a temperature gauge. It's you're showing that the stress is increasing. You're right. Coming into this room, being contacted by law enforcement for your missing estranged wife. It came up missing after she got out of your car on the way to the courthouse to find out how much a divorce was. If that's not stressful enough, the stress level has come up into the room. And I think that these ticks and little indicators that we're picking up on, including the scratching, if you kind of look at it like a thermometer, the temperature's going up, but the pressure's increasing in the room on his behalf. All right. I hope Dr. Doug can reestablish some audio, and we're going to go back.
Yeah, I got back. I'm sorry. Somebody called me.
Matt, go ahead. You want to finish your thought?
No. I just, I deal a lot with, focusing on the fact that, people have a tendency of assuming that the people that they're dealing with are rational and reasonable human beings, and that they should often act in a certain way that they expect, because that's based on their experience, the way the majority people are expecting. If we just put that to a side and you know what I mean, not talk about his mannerisms for a second, his story that he's telling is absolute garbage. I don't know where he came up with some of these responses, but I mean, his responses, if you drill down into what it is that he's actually saying, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculousness. Where like she was in the car for like 2 minutes, and now all of a sudden they're in this major blowout to the point that he has to stop to let her out. I mean, you're right. Didn't he say that? It was that she was. How long was she in the car? Maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, no,
So yeah.
his story has wavered a little bit, but even the best story he could come up with that fit within the guardrails is a pretty bad story. I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to look at anybody else when your ex-wife, estranged, who's living with another man, comes up missing because she gets out of the car because you had a verbal dispute on the way to the courthouse to find out how much a divorce was. Yeah, I don't know that there's anybody else to look at. But let's see how he plays this. I think the nervous tics and the uncomfortableness that we watch, I think, are good indicators. But for an investigator, it just means that I got to figure out why he's nervous. And I'll go back to the investigator in this case, where he started, well, what time and what road were you on? Was it between this street and this street? He's narrowing it down so that he can go back and verify things, which I think are really good tactics, and that you have to be aware of that instead of just sitting there listening. You need to be an active listener, an active participant in an interrogation, and try to take control of it. Let's keep it going.
I was just telling her, just asking her if she wanted to go to the courthouse, and she told me something about an annulment she was getting. I do know that, and then I was just looking up, I was looking up on LegalZoom, like what kind of divorce stuff we could do, and I was trying to tell her about part of the divorce where we wouldn't have to pay court fees, because neither of us could really afford all this stuff. And I was trying to tell her about that, and I didn't know if an annulment really applied to us.
Right.
I wanted to go to the courthouse because I wanted to see like what we could do, if anything could do, or how much everything will cost.
Right.
All that. And she was just trying to tell me she didn't want to do it right now, but I wanted to do it just because it helped me clear my mind a little bit better.
Right.
So I'm not, dealing with anything with her, and just trying to move on.
So you kind of changed your mindset. Like now she's kind of dragging her feet, and you want to get it done.
Yeah.
When before she wanted to get it done right away, and you did.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now when did that change your heart happen?
I kind of was thinking about it all weekend long. Just trying to thinking of it, and I was like, well, I might as well do it. I'd message her till Monday because, courthouse wasn't open.
Sure.
Till then, so I decided to message her as soon as I got up.
Okay, so you picked her up. What time did you say? I'm sorry. What time did you say this
It was
morning?
like in the 10:30 to 11 area.
Okay. From her house on 2nd Street.
Yeah.
Was he there? This CJ guy, was he there?
No, because I know he's not in Ohio right now. Yeah.
Does he work somewhere else, or?
I guess his work made him travel. Last I know, he was in Virginia.
Okay.
She told me that for some reason. I don't really know why she told me that.
So who else was there when you picked her up?
I guess there was someone named Lisa there. I don't know who that is or anything.
Did you see Lisa?
No, I don't know how she got my number, but she was texting me, asking me what was going on. Honestly, I have no idea how she got my number. I don't know.
What she said? She's how did the conversation start?
I think she said, it's Lisa, and then asked me, asked me, I can't remember how it actually went. He said, it's Lisa. Have you heard anything from Gabe? Because I'm worried about her.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't heard anything. I was trying to get in contact with her too. And then I was asking who Lisa was, because I didn't know who that was. And she said, because Gabe never actually said anything about Elisa, so I had like zero idea who this person is, and how they got my number or anything. Yeah, and then she was just trying to ask me what was going on. I was telling her, what had happened, and how I was having major panic attacks at work.
Yeah.
My boss could tell I was doing it because I was freaking out on what was going on with her.
Okay.
With Gabe.
So about what time did you get this text from Lisa?
It was probably about 2:20.
Okay.
2:10, 2:20, yeah.
All right. And Lisa just said, hey, basically, where's Gabe? Or
just asked me, like, have you heard anything from Gabe? Because I haven't heard anything or seen her. Or, yeah.
And what did you tell her?
I just told her, I told her straight up, like, what happened today, and that I was worried too, because her Gabe's coworkers were telling me that Gabe didn't show up to work today and she's not answering her phone.
Wow. Okay. Now, is that unusual for her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's at work all the time, never late or anything.
So when did you become, concerned? You say you start having panic attacks. What?
I got a message from one of her coworkers named Ruthie.
Okay.
She was asking me, where Gabe was. And I was like, what are you talking about? I just saw her, I told her what I just told you.
Yeah.
What happened this morning. That's when, then I got another message from somebody else she works with, asking me the same thing. So I told, her the same thing. And that started, building up my anxiety and panic attacks and everything. Because I'm like, what's going on right now?
Right.
I just saw her. What do you mean?
Yeah. So, tell me what you said to them. I know you said it was the same thing, but exactly what did you say to them?
It's I haven't heard from her, and I saw her this morning, and that I wanted to go to the courthouse with her to do some divorce stuff, and she didn't want to at first, but I kind of was making her come along, and she wanted to get an argument with me, so she wanted out of the car. And
okay, we're going to pause it there. I'm going to, we're going to talk about the Range Minded podcast. Range Minded podcast is a supporter of both the interrogation show that we do and our Friday night video show. If you are 2A and freedom loving minded, you should follow Range on YouTube. I watch him on Spotify. He does a weekly podcast to cover a lot of legal issues with 2A and firearms and a lot of practical things, some live range shooting and things like that. But check out the Range Minded podcast.
Have you ever wondered to yourself, man, what time does the store close? Or where's the best cheeseburger near me? Well, I'm not going to answer those questions. That's what your damn phone is for. Use that. Instead, if you have stuff related, to the 2A world, I'm your man. My name's Steve. I run the Range Minded podcast. On the podcast, we talk about all things Second Amendment, whether it be new guns or gear. Maybe we talk about some training. We'll dig into Washington and the shenanigans they get up to. Sometimes we talk about the Supreme Court and the crap that they're doing. It's always a good time, a little smorgasbord of the 2A, if you don't mind me using that narrative. Either way, you can find us whether on YouTube or Rumble, Range Minded Podcast. I'm also on all sorts of streaming services, wherever you listen to your podcast. Range Minded Podcast. You can jump on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. Maybe stop by, buy a patch and some other things. There you can link to the social medias and all that other stuff. Hope to see you there. It's always a good time. Anyways, you guys have fun, stay safe, and always stay range-minded. See you guys soon.
There you go, folks. That's the Range Minded podcast. It's available anywhere that you get podcasts, but anywhere you see it, give them a subscribe and a follow. It really does help out with these small creators putting their time and effort in to produce the type of content for you. but definitely support our friend Range Minded. Okay, investigators, professionals at the table. How long do you let this guy go before you make a turn and tighten the track that you're going to run on? Because he's running through the game here. And I've got some questions here on the side that I thought we'd bring up and go with as well. In fact, let's do that first. Jennifer says, how do they know about another man but not Lisa? I think that these investigators know that there was a series of phone calls and text messages back and forth and other people that are close to Gabe concerned about where she's at. And I think that they probably did pop back to this guy, and there are text messages back and forth. So I think that the investigators knew the answers to a lot of the questions about the CJ, which is the new boyfriend, and Lisa, who was the reporting person initially. If you didn't catch the beginning of the show, Lisa called 911 to report Gabe missing. So I think they're just trying to get his story. In fact, I know they're just getting his story locked down on some of the text messages back and forth. And I'll be frank about that is you can always go back and read a text message, see how truthful he was. And I'm sure they've already read those text messages and they're gauging him on how truthful he's being on what was said in those. But let's go around the room. Start with you, Jason. How much longer? My original question is, how much longer do you let this guy go before you turn the wheels towards the target?
Before I answer that, I'm wondering how much the detectives know. Facebook, everything he's talking about, how they communicated. I'm curious. I think and I hope these detectives know more than he thinks they know at this point, and they've set up a game. And if that's what they're doing a phenomenal job. That being said, me personally, I have enough right now to actually sit back in my chair and ask him point blank, where is she? And just see how he responds. And he's probably say, I don't know. And I'm probably pretty close to that right now. If you got enough to trap him in lies based upon what you have, I'm ready to move, because like I said before, he is stalking her. If they went to the Facebook page, and I'm picking it up pretty soon.
So you'd about run out of rope on baseline stories and this guy dancing around. You're gonna turn the wheels towards the target and start moving in soon.
Yep, pretty soon. I'm gonna pick it up a little bit and say, you're lying to us. Where is she?
Fair enough. Lamar, if you were quarterback in this, when do you think it'd be time to take that one notch up?
I'd say pretty soon. I know our approach in the government was a bit different, but I would say I would want a little bit more of the timeline and his placement throughout the day. But I agree with Jason. Throw a grenade question at him and see how he responds. Something like, well, where do you think she could have gone after she got out of your vehicle? It's just something to put him in the hot seat.
You bet. Dr. Doug, at what point would you advise him to seek have attorney present during questioning?
At what point?
At what point?
When did this thing start? Probably about 15 minutes before that.
Parking lot. The parking lot.
Yeah.
Starts.
when he got the call. And as to your question, I'm actually I'm gonna say I think I would start painting him into a corner on the actual timeline and location, exactly where the last time. So get him engaged a little bit in some specificity. This wasn't something that's attenuated away that happened a month ago. It actually happened like that same day or the day before. So, let's okay, well then work with this and let's take a look at an aerial view. If she was walking, what direction did she go? Let's start looking, like in circles around and start, looking at where the perimeter, where do you think she might have been able to go? To really kind of start getting down the detail, and then probably throw in, well, wait a minute, you said that it was 1 or 2 minutes here. So how fast were you traveling? So you only could have been at this point, but and start then kind of doing a little bit more what Jay's referring to, and being able to kind of paint him into a corner and then just hit him with your story doesn't make sense. Your story doesn't make any sense.
So you let him spool out a little more line.
Yeah, I'd paint him into the corner with some real specifics.
Yeah, but the problem, again, this is a missing person right now. So law enforcement needs information from him right now. Where exactly did you drop her off? Which way did she walk? I mean, if it's a missing person, and that's why I'm wondering, do they know more than they're leading on?
Yeah, it leads you to believe they've already found a body or something, man.
Well, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but that is not the case. Her status is truly missing now. I think as a seasoned or halfway seasoned investigator, after talking to this guy for 5 minutes, I would believe that she's probably not alive. But I think Jason's saying that he would turn towards the target and begin closing the circle. And what you're saying, Dr. Doug, is that you would still play, hey, she's missing, help us find her. So where's the last time so we can start a good search and look in these areas? So you would play that game just a little.
Well, it's a dual purpose. It's a dual purpose because, you might, where do you think that exactly was the last time you saw her? You still have to, try to find out and locate. Maybe, either he beat her up or, it could have been something about, he's just a strange guy and she fell off and, hit herself, or she got hit by a car or whatever. Actually getting that level of specificity to where you're going to pin down exactly, how far she could have gone, what amount of time, what are the most likely places, on and on and on. And at the same time, you're also pinning the guy down if he did do something wrong.
You know what? I like both those tactics. I think both of them could be fruitful in this type of situation. I like both of them, but I think that we're going to drop the ratchet down one more notch here pretty quick. Let's see what these investigators do.
I stopped the car. She went out. I drove off.
Okay, so you're driving towards Mansfield on 39.
Yeah.
Okay. And you come off of Taylortown and you turn left to go towards Mansfield.
I turned, the left turn down towards Taylortown, that whole road.
Okay. So you're on Taylortown, you're heading which direction?
Turn left. And yeah.
Heading south.
Yeah,
towards
south,
Mansfield.
yeah.
Okay.
Be south.
What is the argument about when you guys are here at this point?
Just that I'm messaging her too much, or that she doesn't want to do this right now. That I can wait on to do this until she wanted to do it like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to do it. And I wasn't listening. That's what she was telling me.
Okay, going on what you say.
I was like, well, I just want to get this done and over with. I want to see what we can do here.
Okay. So what made her so mad that she jumped out of the car?
Just because she doesn't like to be around me much anymore.
Okay. And that's because just of the arguments you've had in the past? Or?
Yeah, because of arguments and my anger towards her, where I would call her stupid names just because my anger would do that to me. And she just wasn't happy with what I was at the moment.
Okay, all right. So, you just, what do you call her?
I'm calling her just, stupid shit. I would call her like whore or all that stupid stuff.
And you've called her that before?
Yeah, usually when you're together, I would call her that just out of fun. She would laugh when I would do that. Mm-hmm. But now this was like me. I was angry.
Okay.
I was just putting it out.
All right, so you're driving on Mansfield Avenue, and you're getting this kind of back and forth about some name calling, and you wanting to do it today. And then what happened from there?
What happened after I was calling her names, or today?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. She wanted to get out, so I stopped the car and let her out.
Okay. And did you pull to the side of the road, or did she jump from the moving vehicle?
I stopped for her on the side of the road.
And she got out on the passenger side?
Yeah.
Okay. And then where'd you go from there?
Just went straight back home to mom's.
Okay. And your parents live where?
Taylortown.
Okay, so did you turn around and come back down 39? Or how'd you get back to your house?
I went around towards where BP is. You know?
Mm-hmm. In Shelby?
Yeah, in Shelby, yeah.
Okay.
And then just continued forward there until I got to where MTD is.
Okay.
And take a left right there on Taylortown Road.
Okay. So you go towards Mansfield, you guys get this back and forth, and she wants to get out of the car, and you pull over. And then, how do you get back into Shelby again? Tell me the route you took.
How do I get into Shelby?
Yeah, I mean, after she got out of the car, tell me how you got, you said back to the BP station or wherever.
Oh, yeah, just because I went through the BP station. We were in Shelby when I dropped her off.
Hold on one second. I'm going to interrupt you, man.
Yeah.
We just need some clarification.
Yeah.
If we can here. So you were on 39, correct? Coming back in is what you told this officer, right? Mansfield Avenue, the main highway, 4 lanes there.
I think we were going towards there.
Okay.
We were in Shelby. We were on 2nd Street there.
Okay.
When she wanted to get out.
And 2nd Street goes down to Main Street, where Rite Aid is, the corner of Main and Mansfield there.
Yeah. I think it goes around there.
So, did she get out on Main Street? Did she get out on Mansfield Street? Just where exactly did you pull over and she got out of the car?
I don't remember what road that is. I'm not too familiar around here.
Well, let's make it a little bit broader. So, were you still in the city, or had you gotten out into the country?
We were still in Shelby, yeah.
You were still in Shelby when she got out of the car?
Yeah.
Okay. So you hadn't made it, like, out past Kehoe Center and MDT and all that or anything?
We didn't make it out past there. I dropped her off right there.
Okay. So
we were still on 2nd Street, I'm pretty sure.
So you didn't even make it off 2nd Street before she got out of the car?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you guys stay parked in the driveway or the street and argue for a little while? I mean, you said 2 to 3 minutes, and 2nd Street's not exactly a long street.
Right, yeah.
So
it was a while that we were sitting there.
Okay.
So we started driving out a little bit. And then...
So, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You tell me if this is correct or not. We're just trying to get a handle on this. So, you go to get her. You guys are kind of arguing in the car a little bit, sitting still.
Right, yeah.
Take off on 2nd. She's getting more and more irritable with you, doesn't want to be around you. So, you pulled over on 2nd Street and let her back out of the car.
Yeah.
So, didn't even make it a full street with,
not really,
with her in the car.
No.
And okay. All right. I guess that makes it a little clearer because I guess I was kind of under the impression that you guys had made it like closer to Mansfield when she got out of the car. That's why we're trying to just figure out. I mean, because we're dealing with obviously the last place anybody was known to have seen her.
Right.
So that gives us an idea of where to start looking at.
Right.
All right. So you're fairly sure you didn't even make it off 2nd Street before she got out of the car?
I'm pretty sure we didn't make it off 2nd Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And what did she say when she got out?
That she would just contact me when she feels like it to do this.
Okay. And did she say anything else? Flip you off or?
No.
Okay. She just. Well, I mean, the last time you saw her, what was she doing?
Last I know, she just got out of the car and started walking, and I just kind of drove off.
Was she walking like back towards this place you picked her up at?
Yeah, she was walking back towards there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was she wearing the last time you saw her?
It was a black jacket. I think she had a black shirt on, long sleeve shirt.
Okay.
Blue jeans. I can't remember what kind of shoes she was wearing.
Okay. All right.
I want to ask you about something else real quick, okay? I mean, you seem like a good guy, being cooperative with us here, so we want to shoot you straight to here and put all our cards on the table because obviously we want to find her.
Right.
All right. I'm just going to break this down real short and simple.
Mhm.
All right. One of our officers from the sheriff's office, and I wasn't there when this happened. I'm just going by the information that was given to me, okay? They apparently got a look inside your car at some point in time doing follow-up for this case for Shelby Police Department, okay?
Yeah.
And the officer that had a look inside your car saw what he believed was blood and what looked like blood had been cleaned up, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm also told that somebody said something to you about this, and you said a friend of yours had been in the car and had a bad bloody nose, and that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Is all that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the deal. You need to be honest with us about this.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah.
Because we can DNA test that blood.
Right.
We can verify that it's hers and not this friend.
Right.
Which I don't know who this friend supposedly is. We'll get to that a little later. But we can check that, very easily find out if it's hers or not.
Right.
Okay? We can also subpoena all your phone records and find out if you have been in contact with this CJ or her or whatever it is you've said to them. Okay? I get you guys are going through a bad divorce. Okay?
Right, yeah.
People say things that aren't pretty. We've all done it. All right? It's no... we don't care about that.
Right.
All right? We've all been there, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. All right? The point I'm getting at here is all this stuff here, if you're lying about it, it's extremely easy for us to prove that you're lying about it.
Right.
Because we can test DNA, because we can subpoena phone records and verify all this. All right. They also did a ping on her cell phone, and it pinged off a cell tower not too far from where you work at.
Oh, really?
So here's the deal.
So you drag her off in the field, you get back in your car, and you sit and you're thinking about it. Then what do you do?
Officer Turner, could I talk to you for 1 second? Thank you.
You notice a jump in the video, right? The officer was summoned out of the interrogation room because the video and the audio feed failed. He's already talked about how he's assaulted her and was going through the details. So this officer is getting pulled out to let him know they didn't get any of that on tape. And he's going to have to go back in and try to get him to recount that once again. But while we're at this point, Jason, did you see the wheels turn towards the target on that? Did we notice a difference in the tone of the interrogation?
Yep, they did a good job. I thought that was well done.
Grizz says there's the hammer. He's talking about it too. Dr. Ahern, did you like the way they did that, or would you like for them to keep dancing down the daisy trail that he was laying out?
No, I like the way that they were starting to pin him down, geographically and kind of, telling him about, well, we're trying to find her, make sure she's okay. And he got himself deeper and deeper. And then originally Jason had mentioned something about, a normal person at one point would stop and say, wait a minute, you're accusing me. Well, you know what? This would probably be about that point, my friend, right there. Right? If we find out you're lying to us, well, slow down. Are you saying I did something? Right? Yeah.
Man, he's got to know deep
Just
down.
give him the pad. Let him start writing the confession now. He's gonna break.
Yeah, I mean, deep down, he's got to know he's cooked. I would think, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he thinks that the officers. I think a lot of folks rely on the officers not being smart enough to pick it up, and that what's coming out of their mouth is the evidence that the officers have, which is hardly ever the case. I find it interesting here that we have a sheriff's office investigator along with looks like a PD officer that are running at this. I think that's pretty cool, actually. Lamar, you want to weigh in on the pivot of the interrogation?
Yeah, I thought it was really good how the other officer jumped in. He pushed him pretty good. I mean, his story is ridiculous. And I'm not a gambling man, but when he leaned forward and his hands were under the table, I'd be willing to bet that he was doing the praying hands, because I think he now knows he's in trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see some praying hands with this guy. I think it's unfortunate that their equipment goes down at the time that he starts to break a little bit. By the way, He's doing the same thing that I say everyone does prior to landing on the spot that they're going to land on in interrogation. He's doing that dog circle before he lays down. The first iteration of this, he admits to being physical with her and maybe hitting her to cause her to bleed from her nose. But then she gets out and he leaves her near a cornfield somewhere, but she was alive when he leaves her. That's his initial story that was missed on the video. But let's see how this officer's able to come back in here and coax him to repeat what you said before, because I didn't get it on videotape.
So I want to back up because I'm still a little confused about what happened. So you go to her house this morning and you pick her up.
Right.
For the purpose of?
Courthouse.
Okay. So you pick her up from 2nd Street. You go down 2nd Street. What direction do you turn?
Take that. I'm going down 2nd Street, take that left.
Okay.
Go down towards a stop sign.
Okay.
Take another left. And then it's basically we're just going straight towards where the main road and everything is, like Taco Bell, Wendy's.
Okay.
Going down there, going the turn lane right there towards where Taylortown is. Turn down Taylortown.
All right.
We got to the point, where I did hit her.
Okay.
And then I did turn down where the golf course and everything, and towards that dead end. And that's where I left her.
Okay. So after you hit her, she's bleeding everywhere. Is she immediately unconscious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me again what you did. I'm just trying to understand the sequence of events here.
Like where I hit her?
Yeah.
Went like that.
Okay.
Hit her.
All right. She starts bleeding real bad. And that's the blood that's in your car right now.
Right.
It's not this other made-up friend that you said had a nosebleed. Okay, it's her blood. We got that. All right. So she's unconscious. What do? You go around the other side of the car?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what happens?
That's when I take her out to the cornfield.
Okay. And then, so she's out in the cornfield. Is she on her stomach? Is she on her back?
On her back, like Sunday.
Okay, all right. And what do you do, to check for signs of life?
Her pulse, and then try to check her breathing.
Okay. But she wasn't breathing?
It was kind of hard.
Okay.
Like, it was coming out, but it was...
Okay, is it like gurgling? Like blood coming out of her mouth? Gurgling sound?
Honestly, don't think there was any gurgling sound now.
Okay. And you checked for her pulse where?
Right here on her arm.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then you kind of go back and you sit in your car.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What happens from there?
I'm freaking out to myself. I don't know what, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So you leave. Yeah.
And you leave her there.
Yeah.
And you go where?
I went back to my house and grabbed my stuff for work.
Okay. All right. So then so tell me what you did at that point. You started cleaning up?
Yeah, and then trying to clean up.
Okay. All right. And you cleaned up at your house?
Yeah.
Okay. So the stuff you cleaned up with, you said was water?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the Lysol there for?
I was just trying to, that blood smell from her nose. I was just trying
okay. Yeah, sure.
Get it out.
So the stuff you cleaned up the blood with, where's that?
Nice, I threw it away.
Okay, at your house?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Alex, we come back here to the main point. I really don't want to, we need to help this girl. And you need to help us. Where did you leave her? Now, I need to know the road and the street because I know you don't. This whole, I'm dumb, I don't know the streets, that's bull. You tell me what road you were on because we need to go find her right now.
Right. It was that. What's that road called with the golf course?
Laser.
Laser. Yeah. Laser goes up to that dead end.
Where it curves.
Yeah,
right,
it curves to
go
that dead
if you're
end.
driving
Yeah.
north.
Yeah. And that's where that cornfield.
Off on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we past 96 at this point?
Yes, that's between 96 and Bowman.
Okay. All right, so somewhere between the golf course and 96. Or are you on the other side of 96?
We're on the other side.
Okay.
It's a short stretch of laser that runs in.
Okay, so and it's a dead end down there.
Correct. If you're on Bowman here, laser just kind of takes a curve. Laser goes up from 96 here, takes a curve to the right, and stops on Bowman right here. And there's a field right there.
Okay, all right. And that's accurate, what you just kind of described.
That's where
so,
the last saw her.
So, can we borrow that pen again? Just kind of draw me a general map of where this is.
Come down Taylor Town here. Come down Taylor Town. That golf course. Been, would have been to my left.
Taylortown sounds like a
Yes.
Billy Joel song.
Laser. I didn't say spot.
That's fine.
And then that little curve. Can't remember.
I think it's
which side that was
Allen.
on.
Okay.
Out there.
Where were you at when you hit her and she went unconscious?
We were about right here on Taylortown.
So you're on Taylortown close to laser.
Yeah, getting close to
Okay,
it.
all right. So is this anchor that like 96 runs like this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's 96 right there. So you come in, you leave your house, you come down. This is before this all happened. You leave your house and you come in to Shelby on 39.
Yeah.
All right, you pick her up. 2nd Street's over here.
Yeah.
You pick her up. You're driving down 39. Why'd you turn down Taylortown?
Because I was going to go down and get my stuff for work just in case. We were going to be late when we were going to the courthouse.
Okay. All right, so you're going to stop at your house.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you stop at your house?
After the fact that I dropped her off.
Oh, but not before.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't make it all the way down there.
All right, so that's about where you hit her. So then you're driving down the street, you turn left on Laser. Is she unconscious at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're going down Laser and you cross 96, and now you're at the dead end of Laser. That's when you go around the passenger side and grab her.
Yeah.
And you said you pulled it out into the field, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Now, is that, I mean, you said some like inconsistencies here, so.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yes, that's what happened.
Okay. So give me a brief synopsis from the beginning to right where we are right now. Where is her body? Show me on that map.
Be that cornfield. Out in the middle of the cornfield. In that dead end.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Draw where her body is.
And in cornfield out here.
Am I picking up that there's the police officer? Am I sensing a different tone in his questioning? Almost frustration. Anybody else picking that up?
Yep, he called him out on the feigned ignorance, imbecile act, and now they're really pinning him down. I kind of get the sense that they're now shifting into the mindset that he killed her and he knows it.
Well, he just asked straight up, where is her body? He didn't say, where can we find her? He asked, where is her body, past tense.
Right. He is, but the tone of the uniformed officer there, the PD guy, has made a dramatic change. Has anybody else? Lamar says you noticed that. Doctor, do you notice it as well?
Yeah, of course. It's just like, look, let's cut to the chase. You know, you've already admitted that basically you're the last person seen her. You left her dead gasping for breath out there in the middle of a cornfield how many hours ago. We don't have time to be playing around anymore. Just this is it. And once they made that leap where they said, let's find her body, and he's actually going to tell them exactly where the body was. I mean, you pretty much have confessed to the murder at that point. You're done. I mean, he already did confess to the murder, even though that, realistically, unless you've got some other kind of an interceding act by somebody else, he's going to be, he's already pretty much confessed.
Okay. Jason, what's your assessment of that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I said. At some point, you just got to be blunt. Where's the body? And that was a great question. The other thing I'm picking up on the suspect, I'm really curious about past police contacts, and this guy, obviously has no remorse whatsoever. He was going to go to work afterwards. He completely, once he realized, they asked the question that her phone bounced off a cell phone tower, and he completely changed gears after that one question. And now he's being as helpful as possible. I'm guessing this guy's got some mental health. Just the no remorse part about it, and the way he's carried himself through this whole thing so nonchalantly is rather disturbing to me. I'm also curious. I don't think a story that he reached across and slapped her in the face is how she died. I'd be interested to see. Anyway.
No, I was just saying I agree with you, Jason. And the other thing I picked up on is after he was called out, you've noticed that nervous tick laugh is now gone.
That's correct. We've seen it looks like the ticks have melted away. I want to go back to the investigator because that's part of what this show does. We're maybe too critical or too Monday morning quarterback towards investigators. But I don't know that that's a good tactic. I don't think that he's I think he's maybe lost control of himself. I think he's come to the realization that this young woman has been killed by this non-remorseful son of a bitch sitting across from him. And I think that's coming out a little bit. And I think as an investigator, you've got to keep that tamped down. I usually didn't reveal how much of a piece of shit I thought you were until we were done and about to walk out. When they want kind words, I would give them what I really thought about them. But I think that's dangerous for an investigator to let your emotions start playing inside the interrogation room. And does anybody else see it that way, or are we seeing this as a tactic?
It's timing, and it's also suspect based. I think that philosophy changes from interview to interview and who you're dealing with.
I don't disagree with that, but I think it's if I'm going to show irritation, frustration, if I'm going to show an emotion in the interrogation room, then I think it should have a tactical play. Otherwise, I should keep that out and do it later.
Yeah,
and I don't
you have to feel the room.
I don't know that that's what we're seeing here. I think we're seeing the guy's emotions are starting to boil over.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a feel that you get sitting across that table, and I think the way that he's actually being so cooperative once he was called out, I think they got the green light to really get some facts out of him.
Okay, let's see how it goes.
She would probably be like headed. If I had to guess, it would probably be more towards the end of it.
Oh, so you drug her quite a ways.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So more like to the other end of this field.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So after you drag her out in the cornfield, tell me what you do again.
Sorry. Drag her into the cornfield. Check her pulse. And check to see she was breathing. I kind of, freaked out a little bit and went back to my car.
Okay.
Freaked out like a lot more. Didn't know what to do in my car. And that's when I drove, kind of in the cornfield, came out.
So you didn't drag her body from the road. You actually drove your car into the cornfield.
A little bit, yeah. It wasn't too far, but
just enough for you to get back on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you leave there, and you go back to your house, and that's when you clean.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the last you saw her,
Yeah.
she is in the field.
Yeah.
And according to you, she's got a pulse, but she's not breathing.
It was hard for her to breathe, yeah.
Okay. I mean, were you at this point concerned about her well-being at all?
I really was, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, did you try to give her CPR?
I don't know CPR.
Okay. Did you try any type of life-saving measures?
I wasn't thinking at the time to do anything.
And about what time did this happen?
This was, like I said, 10:30 to 11. I picked her up. So, I was messenger for a little bit before. So, probably been like close to 12.
Okay.
Getting into 12, and then we got to her.
Okay. So, about what time did you dump her body?
It was about, I think it was about like 12:30.
Okay, alright. And then you went back to your house and you cleaned up for a half hour?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you left for work?
Yeah.
You realize, while you're being a little more honest with you, this still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay? You hit her. While it's not a good thing,
Right.
It's not the end of the world.
Right.
Okay? It would have been, I don't care if you know CPR or not.
Right.
I don't care if you have any first aid knowledge whatsoever.
Right.
You're not out in the no civilization.
Right.
You're mere minutes from Shelby, Shiloh,
Right.
places with people.
Yeah.
That you can take her to get help.
Right.
You got phones you can call.
Right. Yeah.
At the very least, if you were that concerned about it, you could have at least called and then drove off after giving them a location.
Yeah, I should have done that. I know I should have.
Well, here's why I think you didn't. I think she was already dead when you pulled her out of that car and dumped her in the field. And you figured, I don't think anybody was at the house when I picked her up. Nobody probably saw me with her. If I just get rid of her, scrub the car down, there's not going to be enough people or enough information to say, yeah, I was with her this afternoon. You just figured you'd take your chances and hope nobody figured it out.
She wasn't dead at all.
She wasn't dead at all. But this is at 12:30.
Right.
And mind you, we're talking over a 12-hour time lapse here now when we're talking. Okay? Today it was rainy. It was cold.
Right.
It was foggy. So you're concerned about what's going to happen if people find out you hit her.
Right, yeah.
She's still alive. But yet you just dump her in a field in this cold weather where if she's unconscious, she's got more than a fair chance of freezing to death before anybody finds her. But your concern is you just don't want anybody to find out that you hit her.
Yeah.
This is where it makes no sense.
It was just concerning me, just because hitting a woman, that was a big deal for me.
But you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
It's more than just hitting.
Right.
Okay? I think you're smart enough to realize that, hey, I can get her help. I can take my take my hit for domestic violence if she files charges out of this. Take my first degree misdemeanor and go home. No big deal.
Right.
All right? I don't think, as smart as you are, you'd go to that lengths to cover up a misdemeanor offensive violence. It doesn't make any sense.
I wasn't thinking, honestly.
She was dead when she came out of that car, wasn't she?
Last I knew, she wasn't.
She wasn't alive or she wasn't dead?
She wasn't dead.
But yet, in order to avoid possibly getting in trouble over a misdemeanor or domestic violence, you left her out in the cold in an area where a passerby is not likely to see her or find her.
Yeah.
Come on, man. you've been doing good opening up and being honest about what happened here.
Okay, I like the deputies, investigators. I like his tactic and I like his tone. I'm going to go back and beat up on this police officer just a little bit more. Shaking his head in agreement. He's having an emotional response in this box, and I think that is a negative. I don't know that it's affecting this interview, but I think it's something that could affect some particular interviews. You guys want to push back on me on that?
No, I think you're right. You got to maintain composure when you're sitting with the subject, and I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, look, it's tough. I mean, the man kind of comes out, and you've got a young lady you're listening to this guy nonchalantly, pretty much disposed of her like trash, and he doesn't have a lot of remorse. I mean, I can get where emotions can come in, and they do come in for investigators and police officers. But as the professional, I believe, especially sitting in that box, if you've got to give yourself a minute to go out, grab a cigarette, get a cup of coffee, or use the bathroom, that's what you need to do rather than let your emotions run. In this type of situation, in my opinion, you want the interrogation target, the subject in there, you want their emotions to run out of control. But as the investigator or the interrogator, you've got to maintain composure. And we see a lot of good ones where the second guy, the B party in the room, they kind of sit there like they're just not interested. And when they chime in, they'll chime in with something smart, but they kind of give an uninterested demeanor about them in the room. And this officer here, I believe, it doesn't sound like it's a very large town. They may not deal with this type of thing very often. He is a uniformed officer that's setting in on this interrogation versus a detective or a plainclothes guy. So I just get the impression that his emotions have crept in, and they're starting to come out in his mannerisms and his body language inside here, which is I think is a negative for an officer. But Jason, you want to give an opinion?
Again, I agree and I disagree. I really do think it's situationally based, and I watched this suspect go in with his story, thought he could get this, but confronted with the most simple question, he caved. And I still think this suspect in particular, you can get it out of him, and part of his whole demeanor here has been to almost please the detectives. Answered every question. They threw a fact at him. He changed his story to answer the question. I'm not faulting the officer on the left for what he's doing. I think this suspect, if they pressed him a little harder, he would kind of give it all up. And right now I'm still sitting there going, there's no way you killed this girl with a punch to the face. I think if they turn blunt at this point and just lay it out, that'd be interesting to hear his response.
And I think we're in I'm calling bullshit on your story round. I think we're there with the sheriff's deputy investigator. And I guess my point is that an interrogation is a chess game. You're on stage when you walk in, and you as the interrogator, you must control your emotions. And I'm just seeing that this officer is having some difficulty doing that. And I don't think it's affected this interview or this interrogation none whatsoever. If they had a more sophisticated criminal in there or a subject, that could be different with this, because the subject is going to feed off of your reactions, and sometimes that may not be a positive. That's kind of my only point of bringing it up. I don't think, and I agree with you, it didn't affect this interrogation whatsoever.
No, I think you're right. It is nuanced, and the last thing for me is, so the way we were trained to approach this, it's controlled escalation. So that there was a couple episodes ago, a black detective, super good, but he was raising his voice at the subject. But you could tell it wasn't that he was actually mad. He was controlling the environment and pushing the subject. It wasn't that his emotions got the best of him.
I agree with that. I think your emotions, it's not so much emotional as it's more of a ploy towards the suspect, where I'm picking up on this guy will tell me whatever he will tell me. And if I get mad at him, not emotionally, but just present, I'm upset with you, this guy is presented to me that he's going to fold.
I don't disagree with that. But on the raising the voice, moving in closer, getting knee to knee with them, all these things we do to make them uncomfortable, they're not done because the investigator's angry. He's not yelling at him because he's angry. It's a tactic to bust the wall down that's preventing you getting to what you believe is the truth. I just say that as an interrogator, especially in some cases that you may sit in, you really got to steel yourself and keep your emotions in check and use your emotions to get what you need, but not to display your true feelings. Let's see where this turns.
It's time to come full circle here and tell us the last of it.
I don't think she was dead, at least to me. After kind of...
Why don't you think she was dead?
Because I was thinking she was breathing, had the pulse.
Okay.
Maybe she was that was probably like kind of the last of what was getting through her.
Sure. So when you left at that point, you knew she was dead.
I didn't think of it like or anything like that.
When did you realize she was dead?
Like after the fact, I was trying to check her breathing.
Mm-hmm. So, generally one punch will knock somebody unconscious.
Right.
So, I need to know, was it one punch or was it several punches?
It was a couple of them, yeah.
How many do you think?
I don't know. I just kept kind of just going.
Okay, and this is all in the car.
Yeah.
And you're using your right hand. You're going like this.
Yeah, because I was driving with my left.
Okay. All right. So you hit her several times with your fists. Wait, with your fists, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hit her with anything else? A club or a bat?
I had nothing else in the car with me.
Okay. All right. So you drive her out into the field, and you said you're checking for her for breath. At that point, did you put your hand on her mouth to cover it, to just finish it off? This is done. Come this far.
Honestly, I did put her towards her mouth more. Mm-hmm. I didn't try to cover her nose. I could feel that she was struggling to kind of get that out.
Okay. All right. So, but you knew at that point she was dead.
Pretty much, yeah. I figured that she was getting her last whatever.
Last breath. Last
yeah.
Okay.
Pump of everything.
So, you can be struck multiple times with a fist. Okay, you could get knocked unconscious, but it ain't even gonna kill you.
So I got to the point where I went something like that. Might have broke her nose enough to stop her from breathing.
Did you choke her at all?
No.
Did you hit her in the throat at all?
No.
So this is all just here in the face?
Yeah, most of it.
Okay. So you get her in the field.
All right, professionals, what was the some very specific questions there? Did you choke her? Did you hit her in the throat at all? This may be more for Jason than Lamar, but that's a very critical question to ask and get an answer to. Am I right?
Yeah, they blend in. They're going into cause of death right now. They're trying to get a confession on how he killed her.
Well, for those that may not know, if you choke someone or hard strike to the throat, there's a tiny bone in the throat that will be broken, the hyoid bone. And this is not something that you can cover up. So if he says he didn't strangle her and they do an autopsy and they find out this bone is broken, then they'll know that that's not true. But I think that was intuitive for the investigator to get that locked down tight, whether you actually strike her in the neck or choke her, either one. Okay. I think we know where this is going, but let's finish it off.
You think she's still alive, but you know she's dead.
Basically, yeah, she's getting to that point.
You knew she was dead.
Yeah.
So he admits that he's dead. He agrees to take the investigators to where
Alec led the officers to a remote cornfield off Laser Road between State Route 96 and Bowman Street. It was there, in the middle of the cornfield, that they discovered Gabe's lifeless body. However, the condition of her body told a far more gruesome story than the one Alec had initially provided. Gabe had been stabbed 14 times, making it clear that her death was not the result of a mere punch, as Alec had claimed earlier in the interrogation. Alec Blair was charged with the murder of Gabe Clevenger. He ended up pleading guilty to 14 charges, including aggravated murder, for the brutal slaying of his estranged wife. Alec pleaded guilty to all charges against him and was sentenced to 45 years to life in prison.
There's the case. Any final thoughts on this one, guys? I'd say, well, let's go back and let's do it this way. Give me an overall on the interrogation and the interrogators. How would you rate them, Lamar?
I think I'd give them a B. I think I'd probably give the detective a B plus. I was a little surprised that he didn't jump in a bit sooner, but I also understand this went from baseline and it escalated pretty quick into this is no longer missing person. This is not like, dude, you're almost certainly the killer. But yeah, I don't think they did terrible.
Jason?
They did fine. When you're looking, I'd really like to know the information they had before they're first off. If this is a missing person, I think their exigency on where did you drop her off. If they're, I'm going. We're going to send a helicopter up. We're going to put canines out. We're going to find this person. I think the calmness of it really makes me question the whole scenario, trying to find a missing person. And then when he started talking and you have more motive than you need to change it up real quick. And every time they change it up, he would give information. I was like, just come out and ask her. Sorry. You guys can't see this in our private chat, but I asked about a half hour ago, I would have asked how many times you stab her. There's no way in hell his story made sense that you drug somebody through a cornfield unconscious. They did a good job. I'm not faulting them. I was picking up on this guy is willing to talk. Pressure him and he'll talk. But the end result was the same. So they did a good job.
You know what? I'm going to follow Lamar. I'm going to give him a B. I think they did a pretty good job. I think with a more sophisticated subject, either they would have to change their tactics, or they could have had some troubles, or gone on for hours. I think they could have ratcheted it down a little sooner. And Jason, as far as what they knew, I know they know about the 911 calls. I know they know about friends of the missing persons, text messages with the suspect. And I do believe they knew the incident that he spoke of where a trailer got broke into and somebody peed on the clothes. It was him. And I believe they knew that he was a suspect in that. I'm kind of under the impression that these officers or investigators knew that the young lady most likely wasn't still alive.
And just one thing here, Joe. I don't know if there was a very small nuance I picked up on after the subject said that he repeatedly punched her in the face. He slipped his right hand back up under his armpit, and I was actually surprised they didn't even ask to look at his hands. And for anyone who's ever been in a physical altercation, if you're doing work to someone's face, you're going to have marks on your hands, and that would have been just an easy check, but maybe they just didn't need to because they saw the story falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, it was cold too. They had gloves on. Yeah, but you're right. If you go to work and start piecing up somebody's face, male or female, your hand's gonna be able to. You're gonna leave some evidence behind. But I think overall, an interesting interrogation. One, we had two agencies working together, and I thought they actually did pretty good. And I thought they did rather decent with the interrogation. Of course, we're all saying that, hey, we could have figured that out sooner. This guy was going to be pliable, but we didn't know how pliable he was going to be until the end of it. So I can see why they would walk the road the way they did, and I thought they did a pretty good job. I will say this subject was not very sophisticated at all. But let's go to Jason was late getting into the stream tonight on our Wednesdays, right? The sacred Wednesdays that we all get together and do. Jason was late. Jason, why were you late today? What were you doing?
Today and the next 4 days, I'm training 75 cops and about 60 principals and administrative staff on our system to respond to an active shooter.
So when you say our system, you're talking about the 3D response system. So you're taking law enforcement officers, first responders, and staff and showing them, kind of like the fire drill, showing them how a reaction or how they should react to a school shooter using the 3D response system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we made we made it so simple that literally we ran 9 scenarios an hour with over the course of 7 hours, and it's that we needed to teach the principals and the administrative staff on how to use the communication piece of our system, at the same time having officers responding to a scenario that we created. We used Uvalde, Parkland, and Tennessee, and recreated those scenarios with our system, and we were doing the same exact scenarios, and suspect is down within 45 seconds.
So, and when you say these scenarios, this is like a force on force. You got a notional bad guy in there. You have police response, and the staff of the school are responding to it. You know, doing what they're everybody's doing what they're supposed to do during an active shooter situation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a joint training effort between the school district and the local police department, and we do it annually just to kind of create muscle memory on the 3 steps you need to take and how to internally dispatch the cops to where the subject is. It's literally Google Maps that you're being dispatched in that school right where the suspect is. And it's interesting training educators on this. It was, after they got through about the first 4, they kind of started getting their groove, but by the 8th or 9th, they were hammering it out pretty fluidly.
And this, you say the school, but this is the school that the 3D response system is installed in. You guys go back annually and do refresher training?
Yeah, every school we're installed in, we go back and we train both the cops and the teachers on how to respond to the system and give them the ability to take their school back as quick as possible. And it's working out really good. It's impressive to see. We actually had drones flying behind the cops as they were coming in, so you can hear all the stimuli, and the cops running down the hallway. That he's being directed where to go. Take a left, take a right. He was last seen in room 203, and there's a drone flying. So we got it all on video. It's going to be a really cool video.
Brother, I'd like to get some of that and put it together so we can show all of our loyal listeners that I think are all fans of the 3D response system. Let's take a look at a quick clip before the end of the show. We'll see this 3D response system, portions of it anyway, in action. Yeah, folks, you saw some video clips of there and some other training and demonstrations they did with the 3D response system. Hopefully, we'll have some good video of this latest training process with some drones going behind the trainees and actors. Should be very, very interesting. But guys, we're the back end of our show. That's going to be it for us tonight. Catch us on Friday. We've got a little special show. We've got the Round Table with a few ladies that are very popular on X that host a space called the Round Table. Carmen, Sally, and the cast that they'll have. They'll be our grand jury on Friday. So that's going to be a great show. But check out the little promo for that before we go.
You ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Maya Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas. None of those fellas. None of the
That's it for the show tonight. Catch us on Friday, guys. We'll have an Extreme after party or an X Space after party here in about 20 minutes. We could be doing it with Corey. I see he's got a space open. We could join him. But catch up with us. Catch us in the after party. And we could talk about tonight's interrogation or anything else that you'd like. Thanks, folks, for your time tonight. Jason, Lamar, and Dr. Doug, if you're listening, I'm going to give a shout out to you too, my friend. Thanks, folks.
Get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Maya Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas. None of those fellas. None of the